Hello, hello, let's get started. Dzień dobry, witam Was bardzo serdecznie. Dawno mnie z Wami nie było, także bardzo już się nie mogę doczekać na nasze dzisiejsze spotkanie i mam taką ogromną nadzieję, że za chwileczkę Was zobaczę, że dołączacie i że jesteście ze mną dzisiaj na żywo. Już sprawdzam połączenia, także najpierw chwila na techniczne rzeczy. Już sprawdzę, czy jestem. Widzę się dobrze i też widzę, że zaczynacie dołączać. Bardzo mnie to cieszy. Witam Was bardzo, bardzo, bardzo serdecznie. Po dłuższej przerwie w live'ach wracamy. Nie chciałam Was obciążać w czasie wakacji, ale już jestem z Wami z powrotem. Mam nadzieję, że już po urlopach jesteście i że jesteście z powrotem na on the right track to learning business English. Are you with me today? Who's with me? Okay, I can see you appearing. Okay, morning, Monica. Long time no see. That's right. It's been a while. That's true. Okay, so how are you doing? All right, can you let us know who's with us? Agnieszka is with us also. Hi, Agnieszka, nice to see you. Nice to see you, ladies. Yes, it's been a while. So how are you? What have you been up to, right? Okay, yeah, I'm glad to see you and it's nice to see you all today. Okej, słuchajcie, mam nadzieję, że za chwileczkę się pojawią inne osoby. Dominika, hi Dominika, it's so nice to see you too. Okej, dobrze, słuchajcie, chwileczkę na techniczne kwestie. Chyba wszystko działa, także tutaj już zdaje się, że jestem wprawiona w tych technikaliach wszystkich i zaraz przejdziemy do naszego głównego tematu. Dam Wam chwilę jeszcze na dołączenie, bo chciałabym, żebyśmy zaczęli wszyscy razem. Ostatnio nie było mnie przez jakąś chwilę, ale będą wracały powoli nasze webinary, powoli nasze live'y, transmisje na żywo w soboty. Być może godzina będzie troszkę wcześniejsza, tak jak dzisiaj. Mam nadzieję, że Wam pasuje. Hi Łukasz, long time no see as well. Słuchajcie, także mam nadzieję, że ta godzina wcześniejsza również Wam odpowiada. I będę wracała powoli z transmisjami. Może nie będą one bardzo regularnie w każdym tygodniu. Niemniej jednak chciałabym, żeby odbywały się mniej więcej w miarę regularnie w odstępach co najmniej co 2 tygodnie. Też już długo nie było poniedziałkowych Wake Up Your Business English. Chciałabym do nich wrócić, ale w tej chwili trochę mi czas na to nie pozwala. Jak tylko będzie taka możliwość, będę dawała Wam znać na Facebooku, jeśli pojawi się jakieś wydarzenie. Oczywiście będziecie o tym wiedzieli, bo chciałabym z Wami też się spotykać właśnie w poniedziałki na Wake Up Your Business English. Okay, so let me switch to English now, and today's subject is related to collocations, business English collocations. And I wonder if you know what the word collocation, what the notion of collocation means, and what is our life streaming today gonna be about. So what are collocations? How would you explain, how would you describe what a collocation is? All right, so whoever has got any idea, please throw some ideas around and let us know in the chat box. All right, what are collocations? That's the question which I'd like you to answer. Can you think of any synonyms for the concept of collocation, for the term collocation? Because we are going to explain this concept in a while, but what does the word really mean? Can you think of any synonyms that you can use instead of the word collocation? Because the term collocation can be quite, mysterious, maybe a little bit vague, because some of you might not know what it is exactly. Okay, so if you have any idea, please share your ideas with us. And I'll be more than happy to have a discussion with you for this live to be interactive. I hope it will be interactive as much as possible. So please answer some of my questions if possible. Okay, so if there are no answers to my question, let me just share the screen, share the presentation with you today. And okay, I need to come back to Zoom right here. And okay, I'll be sharing the screen. I hope that my presentation will be visible. And one more thing, all of you who have registered for today's webinar obviously will get the materials from me, and it will be this PDF file that you can see right now. Later on, you can print it out, make notes on it, and use it whenever a need arises. I hope that you will find this PDF handy because you will be provided with lots of examples today. And actually, when you learn the collocations, which I'm going to present to you today, your vocabulary base will expand. But okay, coming back. Hello, Isa. It's nice to see you. Okay, so now let me just clearly explain the concept of a collocation because it's crucial to know what it is. So anyway, I have no answers from you, so let me just explain in a few words. So collocations, these are some phrases, fixed phrases or expressions that we can use in a sentence and without the need of thinking which verb goes with which noun or which verb goes with which preposition. And obviously collocations refer not only to verb phrases, but also we can think of some noun phrases, prepositional phrases, adjective plus noun, two nouns combined, or two verbs as well. And actually, we are going to start with some collocations, with some phrases for how to, and some ideas for how to join two verbs together, how to combine two verbs so as to create perhaps not a collocation as such, but what I'd like you to notice, first of all, is how two verbs can be linked, okay? So as for verb collocations, I will present you some fixed phrases later on where a verb can go with a preposition, certain preposition, or a noun-verb collocation as well. Okay, so we are going about connections of words today. And for a start, I'd like to establish a very useful rule, and I hope you'll be contributing to my presentation today. And if you would like to share some ideas, if you want to comment on anything, or if you want to, share some examples with us, please do it. I'll be more than happy to see a lot of your comments coming in today. Okay, first of all, before we move on to proper collocations, and before I present some fixed phrases, some expressions to you, let me tell you a little bit about how we can actually connect two nouns in two verbs, sorry. We are going to start with verbs today. So how to connect two verbs together so as to follow some grammar rules. And the reason I'm mentioning verb plus verb connections today is because it is actually very much related to our subject proper today. Let me explain briefly. In order to put two verbs together, you need to know the rule, okay? And the rules are the following. There are just 3 simple rules to be remembered, but it's not as easy as it might seem. First of all, if you want to put two verbs together, you need to know what comes in between or what ending you can use to be added to a verb for these two verbs to go together. And now, before I move on, presenting you some examples, I'd like you to tell me if you can answer the following question. Which two verbs or what kind of verbs can be connected in a sentence just like that? Which two verbs or what kind of verbs create an expression or a connection without any help of any other words or any endings? Okay, so let me ask the question again. What kind of verbs can go together without any connection? So we just put a verb plus a verb and we don't worry about any endings, any, linking words, any connection between them. So what kind of verbs are possible to put together without anything else in between? Okay. I hope that my question is clear enough, and I hope to get some answers from you. I hope that you know the answer. Okay, Isa has come up with an example of the verb let. And it's a very good example because we actually let somebody do something, okay? However, in that case, an object comes in between. So we need a person, okay? Let somebody do. But it's a perfect example of a situation in which verb and verb are connected without any endings, without any rules, okay? Modal verbs and verbs, says Agnieszka. And this is what I meant by asking the question to you, obviously. Modal verbs and other verbs are connected directly. There is no word needed between them, okay? So we can do something, we should do something, we must do. Okay, it might come as a surprise to you, but a lot of people struggle with it. I don't know why, for some reason. And I think that the reason might be that there is some kind of, habit which you keep repeating. And some people put two between a modal verb and a verb. And of course, it's a mistake. You cannot do that because modal verbs are connected to other verbs directly without anything else. So if you happen to make such a mistake, please pay attention to it because you might do it by force of habit without even realizing that. So please, if you use modal verbs, please remember that you shouldn't use any words in between, any endings. You just connect a modal verb directly to another verb. But this is kind of special, okay? This is kind of exception, we can say, because actually, if we think of modal verbs, there is just a handful of modal verbs available for us to use, like 5, 6, 7, maybe. I've never counted them, but a few, just several of them. And the rest of the verbs need to be connected using a rule. And the rules are the following. Okay, and now please take a look at the first possibility, and this is what you can see here. You can connect two verbs using two infinitive, so it's like verb plus two and another verb, so that's one possibility. And another possibility is verb plus you add ing to the second verb. And how do we know that? Well, it's not that simple because actually you need to remember that. You need to remember a specific verb because there is no rule as verbs which, begin with the letter A connect with another verb. Sorry, there is no rule as such. And we need to remember a special verb which is connected to another verb by means of to, for example, or using the ing which is put to the second one. And I've prepared some examples. Obviously, these are not all examples. You need to know and when to learn that. Obviously, you shouldn't wait until you get to C1 to learn those verbs and how they are connected with other verbs. You need to learn it right from the start. I mean, when you learn a new verb, the best possibility is to know how the verbs is linked to some other words. And another thing, which I'm gonna talk about later, because this is a proper collocation, if there is a certain preposition which is used after a given verb, the best possible way is to learn this preposition together with the verb, with a new verb which you are learning at the moment. So, for example, if the word, let's say the first one from the list, if the verb afford is a new word for you, you should remember that the verb afford is followed by to. So afford to do, afford to buy something, which is actually a good example. That's why the best way is to learn a verb, learn any word with an example phrase or an example sentence. It's enough if you remember afford to buy, afford to do something, and then you will always remember that if you need to connect the verb afford to another verb, it should be done by means of to. So you use to connect these two words, okay? So after all these examples, which I have picked for you today, we use to. So we afford to buy something. Something appears to. We arrange to. For example, we arrange to meet somebody. We attempt to do something, which means we try to do. We claim to do something. We consent to. Okay, also to do something, or we consent to something. So it's kind of universal because to can be used to mean, to denote an infinitive, but also to as a preposition follows consent. So we consent to something. And I wonder if you know the word consent. If you do, please share the meaning with us, because to some people it might be a new word. But for example, if you browse through different websites, there is this word usually put in the bottom of the at the bottom of the page when you need to consent to cookies being installed on your software or whatever you are using, right? So you consent to cookies, for example, on your computer. So consent to do something, consent to, and a noun, which means that consent is followed by to as a preposition as well. Okay, we neglect to do something, we refuse to do, offer to do, promise to do, seem to do, tend to do, threaten to do, or wish to do, okay? So that's one portion of examples. And if you, when you get this PDF from me, I advise you just to print it out and highlight any new examples that you are going to learn and memorize later on. Agree as a verb or agreement as a noun. Yes, Monica, that's true, obviously. That's as for the word consent, right? You consent to something, we agree to something, and we express our consent to something, we express our agreement to something, okay? To agree, yes, 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 of course, I know. All right, yeah, so thanks, Monica, for explaining the word consent. It's very, very important to remember because it's strictly connected with the business English context and also with legal context, because in legal English, in the legal context, you will use the word is exactly in exact same way. Okay, and some verbs which are followed by ing: acknowledge doing something, admit doing, advise doing, allow doing, avoid doing, be worth doing. Believe me, it's a very common mistake. Remember that after be worth, something is worth, we use ing. Please pay special attention to it, because I noticed that many people happen to make this mistake. After worth, you need ing. Okay, now the next one is consider, defend, to do, delay to do, sorry. Once again, I was thinking about the infinitive. Once again, confess doing, of course, be worth doing, confess doing something, or you can also confess to doing something, okay, like admit to doing, but that's a different story. Okay, consider doing, defend doing, delay doing something. We delay, like we postpone doing. After postpone, we also use ing. We give up doing. However, this is easy. Do you know why it's easy and simple that give up is followed by ing? Once you have a look at give up, when you see the phrase give up, you know that it must be followed by ing, no question about it. Hands down, it's followed by ing. How do we know that? Who could explain? And I'll be waiting for your answer, especially those of you who happen to be working with me at some point. You should know the rule. Come on, you need to remember this rule. Why after give up, we need to put ing without even thinking what kind of verb it is, or without even wondering what if you need to remember this, okay? What is the rule which makes it so clear? All right, so I'm waiting, I'm looking forward to receiving your answer at this point. As for this, now we keep doing something, like we continue doing something. Postpone, which I have mentioned before, practice doing, recommend doing, and suggest doing. That's another common mistake. Many people seem to forget that suggest cannot be followed by to. Remember that. That's really, really crucial, because it's a very popular word. It's a common verb. However, many people, believe me, many people do make this mistake with suggest. So after suggest, we use ing, all right, not to. Okay, coming back to give up. So I will tell you what the rule is, and I believe that those of you who worked with me before know the rule, and when I say it right now, you will recall the rule perfectly. Okay, so after any preposition in English, and the word up is a preposition, after any preposition, we need to use ing in English, okay? So you don't even need to remember this particular example. You just use this rule. After preposition, we use ing, okay? So it's unquestionable. There is no question about it. Okay, now let me show you now some collocations with popular verbs. So we have already established, now let me recap a little bit because it's been just an introduction to our proper subject today. A verb plus verb can be either connected by to, or ing is put at the end of the second verb, which follows the first one, yeah? So we need to know the particular verbs, particular examples. Okay, now let's move on to collocations with some popular verbs. And I have picked a few popular verbs which create a lot of collocations, plenty of them, all right? And it's actually crucial, it's vital when you are learning a given phrase to know what to know or to remember the whole phrase as such. Let me give you an example. The first word in the list is an appointment. Now, the question is, what can we do with an appointment? So, in other words, which verbs can we put in front of the word appointment? As you can see from this example, make is one of those. So we make an appointment, okay? Make an appointment. Can you think of some more verbs which can be put in front of the word appointment? What else can we do if we want to replace the verb make? So you call somebody, you call a doctor, or you call a company and you want to make an appointment. What else can you say instead of make? All right, which other verb can be used instead? All right, do you know any? Do you know any other verbs which collocate or which go together with appointment? And now we are talking about proper collocations, because actually the list of verbs which you can put in front of appointment is limited to just a few. You cannot use any verb. For example, you cannot use do in front of an appointment, okay? We make an appointment, we don't do an appointment, all right? So this is the matter of collocation, of the proper collocation. Arrange an appointment. Thanks, Monica, again. Monica is very active today. How about the rest of you? Come on, you know the words and you know the rules, so why don't you share some examples with us? Yes, so we can arrange an appointment, we can make an appointment. Of course, Małgorzata, we can have an appointment, yes? One of the basic verbs, but it's necessary to remember that you can use it with the verb, with the word appointment, okay? That's right. Yeah, very good example. So an appointment. And now let me point out one thing, because on this page, we've got make and do, two verbs which basically mean the same thing. However, the difference is the following. Obviously, we can think of a general meaning and a general use for how we use make and do, because actually we use these two words to express two different ideas. Make is more like produce something or prepare something. We can think of companies which make cars, in other words, which produce cars. We can think of preparing something like preparing breakfast. So we make breakfast, we make tea, we make coffee, okay? So we produce something, we can make a cake. So as a result of making something, we get a product, usually. but not always. We can produce a mistake, okay? So it means that we make a mistake, and this collocation works according to the rule. Now, as for appointment, we arrange. So the verb make is used to mean that we kind of create perhaps even this appointment, yes, but it's not a good collocation, all right? You cannot say we create. I'm, referring to this word just to give you a picture, an illustration of the meaning of this word. However, you cannot create an appointment. We make or arrange an appointment, okay? Now, but you can also create something like make make a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Yes, you create it. You create this bouquet. Okay, so make is like produce, prepare, create. Now, how about do? We think of do when we perform an activity. For example, we do the shopping. We do some housework, okay? We do homework and so on. And all these things which are carried out around the house go together with the verb do. So we do the cleaning, do the washing, and so on. So do is for activities. We can do some swimming, we can do some skiing as well, but we usually go skiing, go swimming, and this is also a collocation with the sports that we go, right? Go plus ing, and you've got another rule, another collocation. But that's not our focus today. So let me come back to do. And besides, okay, apart from these two rules, how to distinguish between the very meaning of the verb make and do, there are some, again, collocations, expressions, phrases which you need to remember because they typically go with the verb make or typically with the verb do. So let me quote some examples. We make an attempt, we make a decision, we can also take a decision. That's another possibility, another collocation. We make an effort, we make a mistake, we make money, we make progress, we make a promise, we make a speech, all right? However, we do an analysis, and this is a typically business English example because, again, many people struggle with that. So if we think of some analysis or some research, we've got it in the list as well. We've got an analysis, we've got research. We can also do an experiment. So these three words have something in common, right? We do some market research, for example, we do some analysis, we do an experiment. So something that we conduct or carry out. And actually, I will show you the example later on because it's a very common example and very much useful. That's why it's important to remember the three possibilities with an analysis. We do conduct or carry out an analysis, and Beata says said, and I'm not sure which one do you mean? Set an appointment? Yeah, right. We can set an appointment. We can set a deadline, for example. So yeah, it means set a price as well. So it means that we establish something. Yeah, like a date of an event, like an appointment. Good, right. So we do our best. We do our duty. We do damage. I skipped that, but we also do damage, not make. Notice that. We do an experiment, we do the shopping, you do your job, and you do some work. And also with the word job, we use the verb do. Okay, we do our job well. We need to do some work. We need to do our duties. We need to do our tasks as well at work, right? So to stick to this context of jobs and work in general. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Is that clear to you? Just let me know, please. So apart from the fact that make and do have slightly different meanings, that the meanings vary a little bit. I mean, not a little bit even, but into Polish, they are translated as one word, robić, okay? But in English, these two meanings are completely different as for make and do. But there are also some phrases, fixed phrases, which you need to remember about because these are fixed phrases, which means that you cannot change them. You cannot modify them anyhow. All clear so far, says Monica. Okay, good. So now a few more, 3 more common verbs, because you know verbs like make, do, meet, take, give are very basic, but it does not mean that they are very easy to remember together with the words with which they create a fixed phrase, because it's a matter of remembering a lot of different expressions. And here is my tip for you. Whenever you learn, I've mentioned that at the beginning already, but let me just repeat, whenever you are learning a new verb or a new something, you know, a phrase which comes as a surprise to you, so you would never even expect that this particular verb goes with this particular word, you need to write down the whole phrase, okay? And learn as many phrases as possible. Those of you who have been with me for some time already probably remember that I keep saying that it's important to learn phrases because it makes it easier for you to use them in a sentence later. And I also keep saying, keep repeating to you that learning verbs is crucial, is pivotal if you want to develop and expand your vocabulary, because knowing verbs means that you can talk about anything. Verbs are really I would even risk saying that the most important part of speech is a verb because it carries the meaning which is expressed by a given sentence. Okay, so the action is something crucial in a sentence. When you read a sentence, you even subconsciously, I guess that you, if you know the sentence structure well, and if you know where to catch or which part of the sentence gives you this particular meaning of a sentence, you will be subconsciously looking for a verb in a sentence. And then you will pay attention to the rest of the words around it. That's why it's extremely important to learn new verbs, especially. Notice how difficult it is sometimes for you to talk about some events from the past. And it's usually because the knowledge, the base of verbs is usually limited. The reason being we use verbs which are common in everyday speech, which you keep repeating over and over again, and you hardly ever learn words which you have never used before, okay? Or hardly ever remember well words that you have never used before to talk about some particular activities that you carried out in the past, okay? Like odgarnąć śnieg, for example. I don't know why I have come up with this example in the summer still, it is the summer still, but can you think of the correct translation? Okay, this is your homework to check it out. Anyway, what I'm saying here is that whenever you come across a new verb, something completely new, think of some other words that it goes with. You can put it together with in a sentence, okay? So that's my tip. And now, as for some collocations with meet, meet is very, very peculiar, specific, I should say, or special. As for business English, and actually, you can find it peculiar, right? You can find it a little bit weird because it expresses the meaning which is related to like fulfilling something, okay? You fulfill, you realize something, okay? In Polish, we would never ever use a similar verb to meet, to talk about deadlines, to talk about duties, to talk about your commitments, obligations, requirements. But in English, actually, we meet those. And it is a group of words which have something in common because you need to realize something. You need to like fulfill, yes, your obligation, your duty, and so on. And there are some more examples, like some conditions, standards. We meet certain standards, which we meet criteria, we meet our goals, our targets, and so on. Okay, so when you think of these verbs from this list, actually, I think it will be possible for you to notice some differences, similarities between them. Okay, that there are not so many differences as for the, the general concept of these words. Okay, so we can put them in one category of words. This is what I mean. Okay, now the next verb, which is also extremely common and which creates a lot of phrases, is the verb take. And again, we take control of something, we take responsibility for. Notice at the same time that I have specifically and I have purposefully put the prepositions which follow these words, these nouns, for you to remember the whole phrase. Take control of something, because it's not enough to remember the word control. Because if you want to express this idea of taking control, you will struggle if you don't know that it is the verb take, which goes with the verb with the noun control. In other words, you need the phrase take control. But it's not enough, again, to remember the phrase take control if you don't know how to connect it to the rest of your sentence. For this reason, you need the preposition for, the preposition of, as for control, and for, as for responsibility. Okay, so we take control of something and we take responsibility for something. Okay, now we can take action, or we can take legal action. So again, the phrase is also useful in legal English. We take an interest in something, again, a very specific preposition which follows the word interest. We take some steps, sometimes necessary steps, and guess which part of speech it is. I'm sure you don't need to guess what part of speech necessary is, and I hope to get some answers from you again, which part of speech it is. Okay, necessary steps. So again, these two words constitute a very, very useful, again, popular collocation. Necessary steps, okay? An adjective, okay, and a noun. So an adjective, necessary, goes typically describes steps in some, of course, in the context which is proper, and we take necessary steps. We take measures, and in many cases, we need to take protective measures. Again, an adjective which typically describes measures, and again, the whole phrase goes with the verb take. We take part in something, we take a look at something, we take a photo, and we take notes, okay? These last three, I think, are extremely easy to you because these are basic phrases. Okay, now the next verb is give, and again, give, extremely popular verb and creates a lot of expressions, a lot of phrases. Like you give an answer, you give somebody a lift, you give your opinion. By the way, what else can we do with an opinion? And again, the number of verbs which can replace give in this particular context is limited, okay? So you can give an opinion. What else? Okay, that's my question. And again, I hope for your answers. So we give an opinion on something. We also, okay, present an opinion. Okay, we share an opinion on something and so on. So we present, we share an opinion, we give an opinion, express an opinion, another possibility. So quite a few again, but you need to remember which ones, okay? These are not like random verbs. These are verbs, very, very specific verbs. You give the impression that you give priority to something, you give a speech, okay? You can deliver a speech as well in the same way as we give a presentation or deliver a presentation, all right? Okay, so these have been the most typical verbs used together with some other words. In that case, these are mainly nouns, although these nouns might be preceded by adjectives, which again create a collocation with this particular noun. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Would you like to share any thoughts on what we've been talking about so far today? Okay, please feel free to do so. If you'd like to comment, all comments are welcome, of course. All right, so now the next part refers to popular business collocations, popular business expressions and phrases. And I guess that this is something that you need to learn, that you need to revise and highlight on this page those expressions which are completely new to you. Okay, so when you get the PDF from me, please underline or highlight the words which are new, and your vocabulary base will expand at the same time. So verb phrases with some other words to create popular business collocations. So as I told you before, we do carry out market research. That's a very typical collocation. Then we meet, or the opposite, miss deadlines. We postpone, put off, or reschedule a meeting. Mind you, both pronunciations are possible. We can reschedule or reschedule a meeting. Then we take an advantage of an opportunity. So there are two collocations present in this phrase. First of all, we take an advantage of something, even three, because we take an advantage of, so a preposition following the expression take an advantage, and then we take an advantage of an opportunity, which is a common expression. Okay, some other examples: lay off, dismiss workers, or make workers redundant. Okay, so these three are related to HR department's role. So they can lay off, dismiss, or make people redundant. On the other hand, companies hire, employ, recruit, take on employees. It's also a very good idea to remember a verb plus a phrasal verb, which can be used instead of a basic verb. Okay, and here we've got such an example. We can basically use the three words to mean the same. We can hire, employ, or recruit employees, plus we can replace these verbs with a phrasal verb, which is take on. Okay, and again, how to remember phrasal verbs? Well, the best possible way is to replace a verb. Okay, so you learn employ, take on, okay? And you will never ever forget the meaning of take on in this context, because absolutely you know that take on has got some other meanings, and that's basically could be unlimited even sometimes, okay? Now, we can found, establish, set up a company. Again, instead of saying simply we opened a company or we started our new business, you can use some synonyms. And again, using synonyms makes your speech more advanced, obviously. So even if you know the basic collocation, why not think of some other words to replace the basic verb in a phrase? Okay, we are accountable or liable for something, meaning the same as responsible for, and these need the verb to be, all right? So that's why I have also put these under verb phrases, because the verb to be is needed. Companies provide goods or services, and we can hold a position, certain position in a company or at a company. We can hold a meeting and we can hold a conference. Okay, so the meeting was held last week and our previous conference was held in, let's say, Warsaw, okay, or wherever. So we hold a meeting, hold a conference, hold an event basically, and we hold a position, meaning we have a certain position in a company. But it's better to say I hold this position rather than I have this position in my company structure. Okay, I have also picked some important prepositional phrases for you. like deal with, depend on, and a common mistake which is made with this word depend. Okay, we depend with this verb, we depend on, not any other preposition which is taken directly from Polish. Sometimes I'm not gonna tell you. I prepared some common mistakes as well for you today, so you will see what mistake I mean, but you can actually guess that probably. Okay, we comply with rules and regulations. As for compliance department, which is present in most companies these days, this is an extremely important word. We are in charge of something, we are biased against something. So companies speak out about biases or speak out against biases at work. That's why this word has become one of the buzzwords of today's corporate language, okay? Of course, we shouldn't discriminate against anyone. Okay, another one from the accounting, account for 40% of the total. So if you need to calculate some cost, budget, whatever, you use this phrase. We focus on something, we replace something with something, and so on. I'm not gonna read out all these phrases because you will see them, and I hope you will learn some more from this file. And noun phrases, by noun phrases, I mean that a noun is preceded or is linked to another word, which could be an adjective or another noun. And remember, in the same way as an adjective precedes a noun, so we describe a noun using an adjective, in the same way, one noun can be described by another noun which comes in front of it. So if we take this compound noun, which is offshore banks, offshore meaning foreign banks, we use this particular word in front of banks. The same with net income. Net means netto, income means dochód. Both are nouns, but in that case, if we've got net in front of income, we translate it from the end into Polish. Yes, it's dochód netto, okay, not the other way around. And that's extremely important to know and remember. We can take a helicopter view of the company. And again, helicopter is a noun and the word view is also a noun, but it's translated from the end. Taka wizja całościowa, tak? Jakby z góry, wizja z góry. We get this picture, right? Birds from bird's eye view, all right? So that's the same. It's a very popular phrase these days, although it does not translate into Polish very well, very nicely. Hidden unemployment. In that case, hidden serves as an adjective. So we start with the adjective, ukryte bezrobocie. So now we need to translate from the beginning because hidden serves as an adjective. But the rule which I told you about a while ago relates to noun plus noun, okay? And then we treat this phrase as into Polish, you need to turn it like, right? So you need to start translating from the end. Fringe benefits, HR, again, the phrase which is related to recruitment, to HR responsibilities. Annual pay, balance sheet, confidentiality clause, consumer watchdog. Do you know the word watchdog, by the way? Who does? Okay, let me tell you about this word. It's, again, an extremely popular word these days because every industry has got their own watchdog, an institution which checks, which monitors if all the company activities are in compliance with some rules and regulations or are in line with some rules and regulations. So watchdog, yeah, in that case, watchdog relates to consumer. So this is an institution which helps consumers check if everything was done legally by a company or according to some procedures, according to or in accordance with some rules and regulations. Contingency plan, so important these days to have one ready or in place. Fixed interest rates, oh, very timely topic, because there is a lot of discussion these days, especially in our country, but not only in our country, in all countries which were hit badly by the war, by the COVID. Interest rates have increased, but now in Poland, for some reason, obviously, interest rates are going down a little bit, so we are happy about that. But people who who have taken out their loans in or mortgages with fixed interest rates are not happy, because interest rates are going down and those people's rates are not going down. Interest rates are not going down because they are fixed and they cannot be changed. Okay, so I hope you know now what it means. Product launch, circular economy, which is nicely translated into Polish as, do you know the Polish translation of circular economy? Okay, anybody? Okay, could you please let us know if you know the Polish translation? Okay, so into Polish, circular economy is frequently translated as gospodarka obiegu zamkniętego. Okay, so that sounds really hard, but when you reflect on that, it does make sense, doesn't it? It does, I think. Okay, and economic boost or economic boom, all right? Okay, so these are typical noun phrases as for business English, typical of business English context. Now, frequent mistakes. Now, I'd like you to check your knowledge, all right? I'd like you to do a kind of test, take a test, and try to actually think if you happen to commit any of those mistakes. Commit a mistake is like make a mistake. So you know from what I have told you before that the word make goes with the verb make. We can make mistakes, but if you want to make your English more advanced, you'd better use the word commit a mistake, all right? So anyway, the first one, the first mistake, which is on my list, is call to. It's a frequent mistake, and remember that in English, call expresses the whole idea of dzwonić do. That's why what is redundant in this sentence is the preposition to. We don't call to in English, we call somebody. We call a person, we call a company, we call a doctor, we call whoever you want to call today. Who would you like to call today? Please answer my question. Who are you going to call today? All right, give me the answer, please. Okay, the next one is influence on or effect on. Again, it's a mistake. Why is it a mistake? Who can correct the mistake in this phrase? And in a while, I'm gonna uncover the rest of the phrases which I have provided for you today, which I have picked for you. And I'd like you to find all the mistakes which actually are very frequent ones, okay? I can hear those mistakes on a daily basis working with my clients, and there is no reason you should blame yourself anyhow for making these mistakes, because they are made by habits, okay? These are some habits which somehow got stuck at the back of your head. Nobody has ever corrected those, and you are repeating them. And believe me, it's extremely difficult to get rid of old habits. And if you notice any of those mistakes, please pay special attention to them when you speak English and try to correct them. Try to correct yourself even, okay? If you notice that you make this mistake, try to eliminate it. Okay, so of course we call somebody, and something influences or something affects something else without on. However, if you use these two words as nouns, something has an influence, an effect on, then you need on. But as with verbs, you don't need on. It influenced my decision. It affected our business. Okay, you can write down these examples. It influenced my decision, or somebody influenced my decision, and it affected our business. Okay, so no on after the two verbs. The next one, and this is what I wanted to avoid actually doing. I didn't want to even quote this example because it is so often translated directly from Polish that in Polish we would in a natural way use the preposition from. However, in English you only say depend on, and this is one of the most popular mistakes, sadly, but okay, there is nothing to be critical about, and I don't criticize anyone. Remember, I'm not here to criticize your mistakes. However, I'm here to emphasize, point out the mistakes which are frequent and which we can together try and eliminate. And by doing it, by paying attention to those, I hope to help you do it. Okay? All right, so the next one is very huge. And what is the mistake? I'd like you to tell us, share with us if you know what kind of mistake it is. Actually, what I'd like you to do now is look at all these mistakes, and if you can correct any, please share it with us in the comments. Perhaps I've got some more comments from you, but for some reason I can't see them. But unfortunately, I can't, so I'm not sure. Perhaps I can take a look on my computer, and I hope there are some more comments. Apparently not. Apparently not, unfortunately. Okay, so I am not responsive today, not so responsive. Okay, right, so you can just listen, don't worry about it. I'm not pushing you to, provide any comments or answer any of my questions, because it's my job actually to tell you all about what we are discussing today. Okay, so I need to just refresh my page. Okay, and I'll be looking at your comments, incoming comments, I hope. Okay, so if you are not, willing to participate actively today, just leave me a thumbs up or a heart or whatever you can send me. Okay, so as I know that you are listening and that you are following what I'm saying, and I hope it's all useful to you, because if I look at the lack of comments, I can actually assume that what I'm saying is not interesting to you, and I wouldn't like it to be like that. So I hope that you are just too busy to answer my questions. Okay, Isa says yes. All right, so you are listening. Okay, so Agnieszka has corrected depend on. Discuss this problem, Adam says. Yes, of course, discuss a problem, not about. And again, an extremely popular mistake, so please do avoid it. I called to, again, I put this one more time so that you can see the context. So it should be, I called a client or the client. I mentioned about this possibility. What's the mistake? I hope that you can spot the mistake easily, especially that there are not too many words which come together. So you can actually guess where the mistake is. So about is not needed. So mention something. And there are a few words where you don't need any preposition to follow them. But anyhow, people make these mistakes, again, by the Polish direct translation, due to the Polish direct translation. Okay, yes, and Adam has provided a good example, many bits of information, yeah, or many pieces of information, right? So yes, if we want to count information, we need to like put it in a phrase or cut it into pieces, smaller pieces, and we can say a piece, two pieces, or bits, a bit, 1 bit, 2 bits of information. Yeah, we discuss problems, we mention possibilities. So again, discuss, call, mention, these are the verbs which are not followed by a preposition. Okay, now why did I put the word actually? Okay, in the next example, because if you say, actually, I'm working on something, it sounds like a direct translation again from Polish, because I don't think that somebody who said such a sentence, who created such a sentence, or who built such a sentence, meant the word actually, like basically, or in fact, right? I guess that the person meant currently. That's why if you remember that I'm working on something now does not go together with actually, you remember the meaning of this verb, of this word better, because actually means in fact, not now, not currently, okay? It's not a collocation as such, but I meant that actually do not work in this context, okay? And does not mean at present. Okay, it depends on, yeah, we've got it already. Many informations, you commented on it. Eventually tomorrow. Okay, this is the same kind of mistake which I meant when I put actually in the list. So actually, no, Isa, okay, Isa, I've just explained that, so I hope that you have got it already. But I'm not sure. Yeah, so actually is used in a completely different context to mean in fact, in reality, okay? Actually, so it does not work well in this context. I'm working on something at the moment, at present, currently. So it's wrong. It's completely wrong. And the same applies to eventually tomorrow, because I guess that somebody who said it meant possibly tomorrow, not eventually, because eventually means finally. Okay, finally, eventually, these are two synonyms. Eventually, finally, okay? Actually, in fact. So remember these 4 phrases, okay? Safe working environment, says Isa. Yeah, obviously safe, not safety or not safely, right? Safe environment. Safe environment, a good collocation of words, and it needs to be an adjective, not any other part of speech, because actually safety is a noun. Okay, now what's wrong with the phrase business grows up, or business grew up, or business is growing up? Whatever tense we can think of, the sentence, the phrase is not correct at all, because children grow up, okay? Children grow up and they become adult, and business just grows. Okay, we talk about business growth. Business is growing, business is expanding, business is developing, although it's preferably we say business is expanding, okay, or growing. Economy can be growing, but not growing up, okay? So up is not needed. Raise should be raise, such as Adam pointed out, raise salaries, not rise. There is a difference between these two verbs. If you don't know this, is gonna be your homework. So rise and raise, mind the difference. So raise salaries, so there is a mistake in it. Elastic workers, and somebody meant a different thing, because a worker cannot be elastic. Some people are actually. However, people are generally flexible. Okay, so flexible workers, flexible working time. Business thrives, a beautiful, yeah, one. It was my first thought, Monica, a very good one. Yeah, a business thrives. Business is prospers, yes, prosperity of the business. Business is booming, better still. Business is booming, boosting, all right? Yeah, growing. Okay, yeah, good. Take care. What's wrong with this one? Take care about. Again, I can hear this mistake very often. So what is the mistake all about? Okay, take care about. Where's the mistake? Please try to find it. And good in, and as usually, who knows where the mistakes are? Okay, I hope they are not too vague for you. I hope that you can discover, spot them very easily. Of, Isa, you mean take care of. Yeah, take care of, but care about something. And these are two completely different phrases. Yeah, we take care of kids, we take care of our duties, and we care about what we do. We take proper care of something. We care about our kids, our the future generations. Okay, so it's like more general. We care about something, and the opposite would be, and excuse me. And now what I'm gonna say is we don't give a shit. That would be the opposite, okay, of we care about something. Okay, so if you don't care, you don't give a shit about something. Excuse my bad language at the moment. Okay, yeah, take care of and care about. Very good. Yeah, I've got several good answers. Now, how about good? Good in? No, it's wrong. We are not good in something. Okay, Monica's laughing. Okay, so remember these two as opposites, right? Care about something or not give. Oh, okay, there is also another version, even worse. Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, good at something. We are good at something, not good in. And as usually, frequently repeated, but wrong, good at, Jacek, yeah, perfect. How about as usually? Because we don't say as usually, remember that. We don't say as usually. What do we say instead? Please do correct this mistake. I really hope that somebody can do that. Can you? As usually, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? Okay, I hope you know, guys. I hope you know that. As usual, yes, brilliant, Isa. I can always count on you. All right, so yeah, as usual, remember this example because it could be quite misleading due to the translation probably as well, direct translation. So as usual. So these are mistakes and correct them. I hope that you have already admitted before yourselves that you commit some of these mistakes and that you know that you are not feeling guilty about those mistakes, but you have underlined or put down some examples, and you have already promised to yourselves that you are going to eliminate them. Okay, I'm not asking you how many of these do you happen to make, but don't be afraid, don't be too critical about yourselves, because those are extremely popular ones, and if you do make any of those, please remember you are not the only one, that's for sure. Okay. All right, good. Yeah, so now, are there any questions? So do you know now what collocations are? I hope so. Okay, I hope you know very well what collocations are. So let me just repeat that again. Collocations are some phrases, some expressions of words which typically go together. The more phrases, expressions you know, the more accurate and more fluent your language is, because accurate for sure, because you know how to put them correctly, how to put these words together correctly, and fluent because you don't waste time thinking which word goes with that one. So you remember the whole phrase and you can use it automatically in your speech, all right? So what you have learned today, first of all, the meaning of the word collocations. You have learned the rules as for verb plus verb. Okay, verb plus verb collocations, not necessarily collocations, but connections. Okay, then you have learned some collocations with popular verbs like make, do, take, meet, and give, and these are all business related phrases. And you have also learned a portion of verb phrases, prepositional phrases, as well as noun phrases typical of the business English context. Okay, are you still alive today? Okay, we have exceeded an hour already, so it's been a long webinar. However, that's not all. Okay, I'm gonna share some information with you right now. So those of you who could be interested, please listen. Okay, so I'll switch to Polish. If you have any reflections perhaps on our today's meeting, please share your reflections with us. If you have got any questions, please ask them. Feel free to ask the questions. And if you have any questions to me, and you don't want to put them, publicly in the comments, you can always contact me via Messenger or any other instant communicator like Instagram, for example, or you can write me an email at katarzynajanda at katarzynajanda@thebest.pulawy.pl. Okay, I will give you my contact details. You've got them on Facebook, I guess. Okay, so anyway, now there are two pieces of information, okay, not two informations. Remember, there are two pieces of information I'd like to share with you now. Okay, let me switch to Polish. Mam nadzieję, że Was nie zanudziłam na śmierć tymi kolokacjami, ale tak jak powiedziałam, są one niezmiernie ważne i chyba to jest jedno, znaczy nie chyba, wycofuję, jest to jedno z najważniejszych zagadnień w ogóle przy rozwoju języka od samego początku. Także niezależnie od poziomu zaawansowania, kolokacje, wyrażenia, tak jak ten słynny przykład, który każdy z Was zna, take a photo, take a picture, chociaż zdarzają się błędy nawet na wyższych poziomach, dlatego że czasami myślicie jeszcze nawet na wyższym poziomie zaawansowania, czasami myślicie jeszcze zbyt mocno po polsku i dlatego wskakuje czasami to zrobić zdjęcie, tak? Ale jeżeli mówicie coś z automatu po angielsku i nie myślicie po polsku, czyli wycięty jest ten polski, w ogóle to polskie tłumaczenie, wtedy automatycznie założy się, że 99% przynajmniej osób powie take a photo i zrobi to poprawnie. Także tutaj to jest właśnie to, że od samego początku to wyrażenie było wdrożone, ono było zapamiętane i jest nadal używane w sposób poprawny. I tak samo z innymi kolokacjami, czyli kolokacje to są te wyrażenia właśnie, które zapamiętujemy, bo one stanowią takie wyrażenie, już utarty zwrot, którego się nie zmienia. Albo niektóre czasowniki typowo właśnie w taki typowy sposób łączą się z pewnymi innymi częściami mowy i tylko tak się to mówi, a nie inaczej i ktoś później pyta, a dlaczego tak jest? No bo taka jest kolokacja, takie jest wyrażenie i po prostu tego się nie da zmienić. Ja zadałam jeszcze, słuchajcie, it's a must have, tak Monika? Yes, Monika, you're absolutely right. Okej. Nie zanudziłam i zapiszę. Okej, bardzo, bardzo się cieszę z tego powodu. Zadałam jeszcze w moim newsletterze pytanie na temat zamówienia, an order. I tam były 4 opcje do wyboru, jeśli chodzi o poprawną kolokację. Obiecałam, że odpowiem dzisiaj na live'ie, na webinarze, jaki czasownik tam powinien wystąpić przed słówkiem order, zamówienie, an order. I były takie 4 opcje. Make, do, place and provide. 4 opcje, powtórzę raz jeszcze. Make, do, place and provide. I jaka jest poprawna odpowiedź? Co robimy po angielsku z zamówieniem? I teraz pomyślcie też po polsku, jak po polsku to wyrażenie się tłumaczy. Co robimy z zamówieniem po polsku? Czy macie pomysł na to? Po polsku najpierw, a później po angielsku, albo nawet odwrotnie, ale chodzi mi o to, żeby uchwycić to, że w języku polskim też mamy kolokacje i że też one działają i że po prostu się nimi posługujemy automatycznie, ponieważ co robimy? Zamówienie, ok, akurat bym uniknęła tego Iza, jeśli bym mogła, tylko ok, ale możemy zrobić zamówienie, tak, jasne, to jest takie najbardziej powiedzmy nieformalne. Wysyłamy zamówienie też, jeżeli jesteśmy firmą, która musi to wysłać do klienta, to zamówienie, to rzeczywiście je wysyłamy, a Łukasz w punkt, składamy zamówienie. Iza była informal, tak jest. Znaczy możemy zrobić zamówienie, jasne. Natomiast po polsku myślę, że taki najbardziej typowy i taki poprawny zwrot to jest, zależy gdzie, okej, składamy zamówienie. składamy zamówienie. I teraz po angielsku, jeśli chcemy się do tego samego przykładu odnieść, to które z tych 4 słów w takim razie byśmy wybrali? Ok? Które z nich? Make, do, provide or place. Jak wam się uda strzelić? Łukasz, będzie w punkt ponownie po angielsku? Make, do, place. No i za niekoniecznie właśnie make, place. Agnieszka pierwsza z poprawną odpowiedzią. Place an order, złożyć zamówienie. Ok? I to jest też kolokacja. Make an order ma troszeczkę inne znaczenie przede wszystkim. Ok? Place an order. Dobrze. Ok, słuchajcie, to czym chciałam się z wami podzielić, to być może już ta informacja do was dotarła, to na ten temat to dosłownie 2 słowa dla przypomnienia. Jest w tej chwili do nabycia mój e-book, który jest w pakiecie, to jest właśnie ten czas z czasami gramatycznymi, czyli apel do osób, które mają kurs o czasach, to nie jest dla was informacja, bo wy ten e-book macie do ściągnięcia w kursie o czasach. Czasy gramatyczne, więc jeśli ktoś ma ten kurs, nie słucha, w ogóle to was nie dotyczy, bo tam jest ten e-book, ale przypominam, że ten e-book tam jest do ściągnięcia w PDF-ie, on ma 67 stron, także nie byle co, jest trochę wiedzy, sporo nawet, są ilustracje, są nawet linki do piosenek, gdzie możecie usłyszeć dany czas, można sobie nawet na bazie piosenek utrwalić i w pigułce mamy zwroty różne, ilustracje i tak dalej. Ja ten e-book w tej chwili oferuję wam, tym osobom, które nie mają kursu, a chciałyby mieć taką ściągawkę o czasach w kontekście biznesowym z ilustracjami, z najważniejszymi rzeczami dotyczącymi danych czasów i z takimi zasadami, jakich błędów na przykład nie popełniać. Uczulam was tam na pewne rzeczy. To jeżeli nie chcecie całego, znaczy jeśli nie macie całego kursu o czasach, a chcecie coś krótkiego, to ten e-book jest dostępny w tej chwili w cenie 49 zł zamiast 79 zł. Link za chwileczkę wam wkleję, zresztą jest w newsletterze podany. Natomiast druga rzecz, i to jest nowa informacja, o której chciałam dzisiaj wspomnieć, chciałabym zaprosić do mojego programu Masterclass, który jest opcją drugą do programu VIP, czyli tego głównego programu, w którym pracowałam z wieloma osobami, które dzisiaj są na live'ie obecne. Jest to druga opcja programu VIP, programu indywidualnego, gdzie prowadzę taką mentoringową ścieżką jedną osobę i pracujemy razem 3 miesiące. Ja was dzisiaj zapraszam do programu Masterclass, gdzie będziemy pracować w składzie 3-osobowym, czyli ja i 3 osoby, w małej grupie 3-osobowej. Jest to opcja druga, którą również wam polecam. Z jakiego powodu? Dlatego, że w tej chwili nie bardzo mam, to znaczy w najbliższym czasie na pewno nie mam możliwości przyjęcia kolejnych osób do programu VIP, ponieważ pracuję obecnie z osobami właśnie w tym programie indywidualnymi i po prostu zwyczajnie nie mam już na to możliwości czasowych. Natomiast od połowy października planuję utworzyć mini grupę 3-osobową, która będzie pracowała w tym samym programie VIP, ale we trójkę. I jest to, tak jak widzicie, 3-miesięczny program dla 3 ambitnych osób, które pragną rozwinąć swoje umiejętności językowe na poziomie, uwaga, wychodzimy z poziomu B2, czyli jest to program na poziomie B2 plus w kierunku C1. Nawet jeżeli zgłoszą się osoby, które będą powyżej tego poziomu, to od razu zaczniemy na C1. Natomiast zapraszam osoby właśnie w tym przedziale, jeśli chodzi o wasz orientacyjny poziom zaawansowania w języku w tej chwili, czyli B2 plus C1. To jest ten poziom. I te osoby, które chcą ćwiczyć komunikację swobodną, i taką, która będzie bardziej, bo to są te potrzeby, które zgłaszacie do mnie na konsultacjach, bardzo dużo mam konsultacji z osobami, które właśnie do mnie trafiają na konsultacje, te osoby, które są autentycznie zainteresowane biznesowym angielskim na wyższym poziomie, zwłaszcza z takimi osobami rozmawiam i wiem od Was właśnie, że to, co Was blokuje w komunikacji, to jest to, że zgłaszacie do mnie, że ten język uważacie, że jest zbyt prosty, taki podstawowy, tak jak, znaczy może nie podstawowy, ale że te słówka nie są za mało wyszukane. O tak. I tak jak dzisiaj Wam mówiłam, że można pewne rzeczy zastąpić, żeby nie mówić make a mistake, a commit a mistake, to jest tylko przykład oczywiście, to tutaj właśnie pracujemy nad tym, żebyście komunikowali się ze swobodą w takich właśnie już kolokacjach biznesowych, używając synonimów, wielu synonimów czasami po to, żeby zastępować te słowa, które są takie bardzo ogólne. Chcecie osiągnąć również poprawność językową i tu dużo jest pracy właśnie na kolokacjach, bo często ta kolokacja nie jest budowana poprawnie, ale też zwracamy w dużej mierze nawet uwagę na eliminowanie błędów gramatycznych i ćwiczymy te struktury, które są charakterystyczne dla wyższych poziomów, przykład conditional sentences, tylko przykład. Ok? Bo już tutaj na tych poziomach zaawansowania chcecie po prostu te conditionale mieć w małym palcu po to, żeby się nimi po prostu w naturalny sposób posługiwać. Jeżeli chcecie właśnie opanować zwroty na poziomie zaawansowanym w kontekście Business English, to jest to program dla Was. Tutaj jest strona, którą Wam pokażę i teraz mam nadzieję, że to widać, nie widać, przeklikam się. To jest strona, tu gdzie mamy informacje o programie VIP, czyli na mojej stronie internetowej katarzynajanda.pl, zaraz Wam powklejam linki, to jest strefa VIP i to jest również program taki VIP-owski, ale dla 3 osób jednocześnie. 3-4 tu jest napisane, nie, ja w tej chwili zapraszam 3 osoby do tego programu. I żeby zgłosić się do programu, bardzo proszę Was o wypełnienie właśnie tego formularza, bo na właśnie takiej bezpłatnej konsultacji ja Wam powiem więcej o programie, żeby już dzisiaj nie przedłużać. Więc wklejam link do... Tak, muszę teraz wyłączyć już dzielenie ekranu. Wklejam link Gdzie ja tutaj jestem? Wklejam link, jest, do formularza zapisu na konsultację. Wybierzecie sobie tam z kalendarza termin konsultacji. Gdyby coś nie działało, to na tej stronie właśnie VIP Class jest ten formularz. Gdyby coś nie działało, to po prostu poproszę od Was wiadomość na priv i to nawet w tej chwili, jeśli są osoby zainteresowane tym programem, to już możecie nawet się zgłosić w tej chwili do mnie w wiadomości prywatnej. Ja tylko powiem krótko, żeby tutaj mieć jasność. Koszt programu, to jest program 3-miesięczny, koszt programu to jest 1500 zł miesięcznie od każdego uczestnika, ok? Czyli 3 razy 1500, oczywiście jest możliwość płatności w ratach miesięcznych, czyli 1500 zł za każdy miesiąc. W ten program, w skład tego programu wchodzi bardzo dużo różnych elementów, jest sprawdzanie Waszej pracy, ja wszystko Wam wyjaśnię na konsultacjach, są spersonalizowane słówka nagrywane, dużo rzeczy i są też moje materiały w postaci kursów moich na platformie, które dostajecie gratis. Uwaga, osoby, które mają moje kursy, kurs o czasach, kurs o phrasal verbs lub moją książkę dostaną rabat na to konto, że już mają te produkty, więc już drugi raz nie mogę Wam ich dodać w gratisie. Dostaniecie w nagrodę rabat za to, że już te produkty macie. Ok? Tam będzie rabat około chyba 15% na cenę kursu. Czyli takie są warunki przystąpienia do programu. Program rusza w połowie października. Nie mogę Wam odpowiedzieć na pytanie, w jakich godzinach. Na pewno spotkania będą 2 razy w tygodniu, ale poza spotkaniami jest dużo innej pracy również. Ja nad Wami czuwam na takich zasadach on a daily basis, że tak powiem. Więcej powiem na konsultacjach już tym osobom, które będą realnie zainteresowane, także te osoby, które podchodzą do tego serio, które chcą zrobić coś z językiem, a mała grupa. Dlaczego grupa i dlaczego mała? Dlatego, że Chcę Wam stworzyć idealne warunki, żeby to nadal był program spersonalizowany, czyli żebym ja miała kontrolę nad każdą osobą i nad postępem każdej z tych 3 osób, a w grupie 3-osobowej jestem w stanie nadzorować właśnie Wasz postęp z dnia na dzień, wysyłać Wam też maile i być z Wami w codziennym kontakcie. Po drugie, w grupie 3-osobowej jesteśmy w stanie zrobić więcej niż nawet 1 na 1, to znaczy 1 na 1 oczywiście ma tę wielką zaletę, że jestem skupiona na jednej osobie i ją prowadzę, natomiast w grupie 3-osobowej jesteśmy w stanie zrobić więcej różnorodnych zadań, o tak chciałam powiedzieć, czyli na przykład przeprowadzić spotkanie biznesowe, zrobić brainstorming, wynegocjować coś i tak dalej, czyli są różne inne możliwości pracy na zajęciach. Ok, tyle chciałam do Was powiedzieć, także jeśli ktoś jest zainteresowany, bardzo serdecznie zapraszam. Piszcie do mnie albo na priv, albo umawiajcie się przez formularz zapisu na konsultacje. Konsultacje wybieracie z kalendarza termin, tak żeby Wam pasował i żeby mi pasował i wtedy rozmawiamy na Zoomie przez chwilę na temat programu. Dziękuję Wam, że byliście dzisiaj. Pozdrawiam Was bardzo, bardzo serdecznie. I wish you a very sunny weekend, an awesome weekend. See you again soon. Take care. Bye.